Good day everyone, I'm Sheena A. Fortaleza and I will be discussing Lesson 4, Selection and Placement. The purpose of this chapter is to familiarize you about the ways to maximize the errors in selection and placement so that the company competitive position will improve. Topic 1, Selection Method Standards. Why is selection important to one's organization? Selection is an important process because hiring good employees can help increase the overall performance of an organization. Personnel selection is the process by which companies decide who will or will not be allowed into the organization. Usually, it is done if the organization needs a manpower or a replacement in a vacant position. There are 5 standards in the selection process. Number 1, reliability. Number 2, validity. Number 3, generalizability. Number 4, utility. And number 5, legality. Reliability is the consistency of a performance measures. Mostly, it is measured by the intelligence, integrity, and leadership ability. In selection tests, there is no perfect reliability, but the goal here is to reduce the error in measurement as much as possible. In standard for reliability, SAT is more reliable than consular ratings. Why? Because consular ratings can be manipulated if you ask the consular to give you a good ratings. Example for some reliability standard is physical characteristic, cognitive abilities, and personality. Next is validity. We define validity as the extent to which performance on the measure is related to performance on the job. There are 2 ways to measure validity. First is the criterion-related validation, a method of establishing the validity of a personnel selection method by showing a substantial correlation between test score and job performance scores. And criterion-related validity studies comes in 2 varieties. Predictive validation seeks to establish an empirical relationship between test scores taken prior to being hired and eventually performance on the job. Next is the concurrent validation. Concurrent validation assesses the validity of a test by administering it to people already on the job and then correlating test scores with existing measures of each person's performance. The difference between the two is in predictive, the test is taken prior, and in the concurrent, the test is being held in the current time. Next to the criterion-related validation is the content validation. It is done when sample sizes are small. It is also the alternative test validation strategy. If you cannot try the criterion-related validation, it is the alternative of it. Now let's go to the number 3 in the selection process. That is generalizability. Generalizability is defined as the degree to which the validity of a selection method established in one context extends to other contexts. Generalizability is also a measure of how useful the results of a study are for a broader group of people or situation. If the result of the study is broadly applicable to many different types of people or situation, that is said to have a good generalizability. Next is the validity generalization. Alternative for validating selection methods for companies that cannot employ criterion-related or content validation. Validity generalization is a 3-step process. For example, The company provides evidence from previous criterion-related validity studies conducted in other situations that shows that a specific test, such as a test of emotional stability, is a valid predictor for a specific job. Second, the company provides evidence from job analysis to document that the job it is trying to fill is similar in all major respects to the job validated. Then finally, if the company can show that it uses a test that is the same as or similar to that used in the validated setting, then one can generalize the validity from the first context to the new context. As I said earlier, if the result of the study is broadly applicable in many different people or situations, it is said to have a good generalizability. Number 4 in the selection process is the utility. Utility means the state of being useful, profitable, and beneficial. It is the degree to which the information provided by selection methods enhance the bottom line effectiveness of the organization. It is said that if you excel in the reliability, validity, and generalizability, it is more likely you will have utility. Number 5 and lastly in the selection process is the legality. All selection methods should conform to existing laws and existing legal precedents. Now let's go to the second topic, type of selection methods. In this topic, we will examine the common selection method used in various organizations. First is interviews. Interviews defined as dialogue initiated by one or more persons to gather information and evaluate the qualification of an applicant for process. Interview also is an opportunity for an unconscious bias effect. For example, you are a joker and the interviewer likes that about you. And without knowing it, he approves you in that position without even knowing that you have the skill and ability in that kind of position. More researchers says that interview should have a lot of situational questions for you to be able to distinguish what will the applicant will do in a certain situation that you will give. There are two types of situational interviews. It is experience-based and future-oriented. Next is the references, application blanks, and background checks. It is one of the methods for getting background information on applicants before an interview. It is also considered as weak predictors. Why? Because the main reason for this low validity is the evaluation supplied and most reference letters are so positive that it is hard to differentiate applicants. Next is physical ability test. Physical ability test is the standard assessment for measuring an individual's ability to handle the physical demands. For example of jobs that needs physical ability test is police, military, or firefighters. There are 7 classes of tests in this area. Number 1, muscular tension. Number 2, muscular power. Number 3, muscular endurance. Number 4, cardiovascular endurance. Number 5, flexibility. Number 6, balance. And number 7, coordination. Next is the cognitive ability test. Differentiate individual based on their mental rather than physical capabilities. Cognitive ability test may be defined as a mental capability that involves the ability to reason, plan, solve problems, think abstractly, comprehend ideas, learn quickly, and so on. There are 3 dominant ones that we should focus on. Number 1, verbal comprehension. Number 2, quantitative ability. Number 3, reasoning ability. Next is personal inventories. Personality measures tend to categorize individuals by what they are like. Personality inventory also is a self-assessment tool that career counselors and other career development professions use to help people learn about their personality types. It reveals information about individual social traits, motivation, strength, weaknesses, and attitude. Next is work samples. It is a test attempt to stimulate the job in a pre-hiring context to observe how the applicant performs in the simulated job. Work sample is a product such as an example of your writing or editing. In some jobs, it is required for you to bring it into the job interview. It is also a proof that you acquire a certain skill that is needed for the job you are applying to. Next is the honesty test and drug test. Honesty test or the integrity test are meant to measure honesty, dependability, and work ethic of an applicant. Drug test is an examination of biological material to detect the presence of specific drugs in your body. Last is the paper and pencil honesty test. It is when the interviewer asks you about your honesty, criminal history, attitude towards drug use, tipped by other people, and general question that shows your integrity. And that will be all. Thank you for listening.